In this video, you're going to learn how to build your own custom AI agent that posts to social media, has conversations with other people automatically, has its own custom personality that you can either program from scratch, extend from other personalities, or even extend from your own personality. The agent can then be easily extended with other functionality, like interacting with Telegram, Discord, or even posting transactions on chain. We're going to be using the ELIZA framework from AI16Z, which is a really great getting started point and will allow us to build this very quickly. We're going to be building with Anthropic Claude as well as Gaia AI models, but this project can be easily extended with any AI model supported by ELIZA, including OpenAI and many others. Let's get started. First, we'll go to the ELIZA documentation and we'll click Get Started, and then we'll click on Quick Start. And here we can go ahead and clone the repo locally. Next, we'll go ahead and change into the new directory. And what we want to do is check out the latest version. So here in the documentation, it tells you to check out a specific version, but we actually want to check out the latest version. We can either look through the tags and do that, or we can go here to the ELIZA GitHub repo, and they have a nice command that we can just run, git checkout, and then it sets the tag and automatically checks out the latest version. We're on 0.1.5 here. This will obviously change in the future, but the things that we're covering here should be somewhat similar for the most part because we're mainly focusing on configuration and environment variables. So what we're going to do next that we've checked out the version that we want to be in, we're going to run pnpm install. Finally, we'll run pnpm build. All right, now that we are installed, our version is checked out, we are ready to start configuring our character and our environment variables. So what we'll do is we'll open this project up in our text editor, and we want to copy this .env.example into a .env file. You can do that however you like. I'm just going to copy this little command here and run it. And now we have this .env file with all of the different environment variables that you can set up. There's a lot here. Don't worry about it. Don't get overwhelmed. Most of this stuff we're not even going to use. What we are going to use are a couple of these Twitter configurations. I personally would like to use Twitter cookies, but at the moment there is a bug in this framework and it's not working. So we're going to be opting for username and password and email login. We're also going to be setting up our model LLM API key. So we're going to be doing two types. One is Anthropic, which will require an API key, and the other is Gaia, which is a public node, and you do not need an API key. So we're going to be doing both, and you can follow along and set up both of these, or you can just set up one or the other. It's kind of up to you. Obviously, my Twitter password and my Anthropic API key are private, so I'm not going to show that. But I will show how I can set up everything else. So I'll just go ahead and drop in the username of my agent, and it is Cognitive Drift with 2 T's. And then also I will show you my Gaia configuration here. So we're setting up the model, server URL, embedding code, and then this embedding true flag. Where did we get that? Well, we can go to the Gaia documentation at docs.gaianet.ai. And over here on the left-hand side, there are public GaiaNet nodes. You can choose whatever node that you would like, Llama, they have a few others. And in our case, we are rolling with Nomic. Now, next I'm going to go ahead and get off the screen and set up my other credentials, and I'll be right back. Now that my environment variables are all set up, we can now configure our character. There's a little bit to dive into here. Hopefully this is interesting to you because this gives you a lot of flexibility and control on your character. To start, you have this characters folder with a couple of JSON examples of characters. This has all of the key value pairs for what you might set up for yourself. So these are just basic characters that you can start with, or you can kind of like create your own character and type all this stuff in. And we're going to be doing kind of a version of that. But what we would like to do is kind of start with an example character and extend it and modify it a little bit. So to understand that a little better, we're going to actually go to this project called character file from AI16Z. This is more of like a standard for creating agent characters where you can set up a standard type of personality based on a bunch of key value pairs. In addition to that, they have a nice CLI that you can download your Twitter history and create an agent or create a character based on all of the things that you've done over the past X number of years on Twitter, which is pretty cool. So you can either opt to create a character from scratch or whatever, or you can download your Twitter character. I'm not going to do the Twitter character file here because I want to kind of dive into some specifics that we're going to walk through, but that is a cool option that you can do. Now, to go a little bit further into this character file example here, it's a really useful repo. We're going to look at this example character.json that's in this repo. And this example character.json gives you all the key value pairs and explains what everything is. So with bio, it's kind of obvious what a bio might be, right? But what about lore? Lore lines are each short snippets which can be composed together, just like bio. However, these are usually more factual, blah, blah, blah. So it's a good explanation of all of these different things. Message examples, post examples. Post examples are kind of like your social media activity that you might want to exemplify. Adjectives, all types of stuff. So this is essentially the personality and the style and the character of the character itself. Okay, so that's the JSON that describes, the different fields. There's also a default character that is provided by Eliza that has a lot of this stuff, or pretty much all of it, already filled out. And what we can then do is kind of extend this default character and make our own character. So we can inherit certain things like the lore or the bio or all these different things like a system prompt. And then we can extend them with separate keys for the things that we want to override. We're doing that in this case because it's just a lot simpler for us in this case, so we don't have to fill out all of this stuff from scratch. So what can we do to retrieve that default character? Well, you can just import it into a file. So I'm going to open my text editor here, and I'm going to go to Agent, and I'm going to create a file called main character.ts. And I'm going to go ahead and import a few different modules from A16Z Eliza that we'll look at in just a moment, but notably this default character, which we just talked about. And then we can say, okay, I'm going to export const main character. And then we can inherit this default character by spreading over it. And now we have inherited that default character, and we can just override whatever properties we would like bio. We can override the system prompt, other things. But most importantly for us, we want to enable that Twitter integration. So this is where we're going to enable those integrations, those actions and stuff. So in this case, we want to enable the Twitter client. So we're going to say clients.twitter. And now it's going to look in our environment variable file, get that Twitter information. When we run this, it's going to log us in, and it's going to start tweeting and listening for replies. We also want to modify the model. So to do that, we can say model provider, and then we can say model provider name dot. And now we have all these nice different options for models. And we're going to start with Claude Vertex. Now we could go further, and we could extend the name, prompt, name, bio, all these different things. I think for now, we'll just change the name to be Cognitive Drift, because that's our agent name. We're going to run this. We're going to tweet. We're going to look at it. And then we're going to come back, and we're going to modify the model to use Gaia. And we're also going to modify our own system prompt and our own bio and see if there's a difference in the way the character acts. So we have this main character set up. We need to actually use this main character. So to do that, we're going to go into src/index, and we're going to look. Well, first of all, let's go ahead and import main character. So we've imported main character. We're going to now look for default character. And we're going to replace the instances of default character with main character. So now we've replaced default character with our new main character. And when we run Eliza, it's going to recognize that. You could also pass in a location for a different JSON character. And obviously there's other ways that you can set this up, but that's the way we're going to do it. All right, so to test this out, we're going to go to our terminal and we're going to run npm start. All right, so we've started our agent. Looks like it's all working great. So it says posting new tweet, watching grown men argue about cartoon waifus, peak internet brain rot. All right, let's go check this tweet out. I'm going to open cognitive drift here. I'm going to refresh. And there we go. We see that we have tweeted from our agent. And the agent is going to do two things. It's going to listen for any types of comments. So if someone comments on this, it's going to reply. And it's also going to continue tweeting at an interval that's been set in our environment variable. So I think right now the interval is something like 2 hours. But I'm signed in under my own profile, so I can just say something like WTF. So I've responded to cognitive drift. And cognitive drift is going to be listening and checking for any interactions. So let's wait, see what the interaction, when the interaction happens and what the response is, and then we can continue on. Okay, it looks like it's checked. It's registered that Dabbit3 has actually responded, and now it's creating a response. And then if we go back to our tweet, we see that cognitive drift has responded to us. Someone had to say it, watching grown men simp over 2D girls, blah, blah, blah. Okay, interesting. That's our default personality. We did not program that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to modify our main character. We're going to say model provider dot Gaia net. And then we're going to drop in, I'm about to drop in just a massive amount of text. That's going to be a new system prompt and a new bio. So, don't worry about copying and pasting this. Well, you can copy and paste it. I'm going to link to all this code below, but don't worry about obviously typing all this in. You can type in whatever you want. But the whole idea is we're kind of setting up a slightly new personality. This is probably, I would say, not the best way to use a system prompt. You're probably better putting some of this information in the bio and the lore, but for ease sake, I'm just putting it all into the system prompt. Okay, so we've set up GaiaNet. We've redone our system prompt. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to go into data and I'm going to delete this SQLite database because this has the history of all of our tweets, and it's going to see that we just tweeted, and it's going to not tweet again for another 2 hours if it has this history. So I'm going to delete the history, and I'm going to go back to my terminal, and we're going to now try to run this with Gaia and this new personality. All right, Gaia has now created a new tweet on our behalf. We should be able to go back to the cognitive drift profile and see that a new tweet was posted 21 seconds ago. I just spent 4 hours in a digital dystopia and all I got was this lousy pixelated scar. So that is the new personality that's tweeting from cognitive drift. What else can we do? Well, let's go into the, let's see here, packages and look at the different adapters and extensions we can do. So we can now integrate other stuff like Onchain or database functionality that isn't already there. So by default, we're using SQLite, but you can add a Supabase database, which is probably my favorite of these that I would probably end up adding. You can add Discord, Farcaster integrations, Telegram. You can set up different networks, so EVM networks, Solana network, StarkNet. There's a lot of stuff you can do by extending what we have here, but we have a pretty good starting point. And then the last thing that we can do is we can also chat, directly with the agent in the terminal. So you can just type questions there and say things like, tell me about yourself. And there's the response. Hey there, I'm just a perpetual student of Silicon and Stoicism. So that's it. We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. We've built an agent that will go and tweet and talk to people and respond to people. And we can extend this with on-chain functionality by configuring our wallets and other additional features, Telegram and stuff like that. But to get started, this is a really great and fun project to get started building with. So I hope you learned something. I'm going to drop all of the links that we covered in the comments. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks.